What's up, everybody? It's Charles Walker here. Now, what I'm wanting to go over this week is another more of a concept of a build video, and what really inspired this was actually one of my players who they had a moment in the campaign where they got a fortress and they wanted to keep it, but there's a goblin horde coming to take it back from the part of the goblin horde they originally took it from. Long story, but anyways, they were not going to let that go. So our ranger in the party, who was originally trained by a guerrilla tactics master, he's like, I know what to do. They spent 5 in-game days trapping the place and digging pits and spike pits and all sorts of traps all over the land around the fortress. And what resulted was absolute insanity. So there was 120 goblins, a horde of hobgoblins, bugbears, all sorts of creatures charging at this fortress. In the end, there was probably 70 of them that made it to the fortress after all the casualties have been done by the traps. And yeah, so this really made me think of just what would a tower defense character be like. Now, Ranger probably a pretty good choice for that in that same sense, but what I was going for more is kind of a spell-based one, because you could have a character that's fully based on making traps and stuff, but this was more kind of like what using in-game stuff and not really DM stuff, because I don't think there's really a rule about just a character making traps, except for like using ones I already know of, I guess. I mean, that'd be another topic for another video, but this one I'm wanting to go full like spell-based traps. And the character best for that, surprisingly enough, is a nature-based cleric. Now, that may seem surprising, but what I'm going off of is duration spells and how they could be used for defensive purposes, and there's a lot of them that could be really used for that. So, without further ado, let's just get into it. Now, first, I want to go over is glyph warding. So, starting out, they're not going to have that many defensive spells, but as you get older, it will. The first two to me are at second level, but this is one of the key ones I think you really want to have because it's a pretty classic one when it comes to defense. Like, you probably ran into it before as a DM uses a trap. Basically, what it is, it's a concealable glyph that you cast and you inscribe onto. It takes you an hour to cast it, and the duration is until the spells are triggered. So you could put this on anywhere, just leave it, and completely forget about it, and accidentally kill someone without even realizing it. And what it does is, say like you put it on a door and someone tries to open it, it explodes. Or something like you put it in a book and you don't want people to open the book and they open the book, explodes. And what it can do is, for this possible ruin explosions or something like that happen from that is, you can either store prepared spell or third level or lower in the glyph, so that could be absolutely amazing if you have some really good cleric damaging spells. Like, for example, you could put afflict wounds in there, and that'd be 5d10 of damage if you cast it at third level and put it in the glyph. And then there is explosive ruins, which is when triggered, they have to make a dexterity saving throw, or each creature within a 20-foot radius takes 5d8 acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage. Cover only bases, really solid. And yeah, that's a good way to keep you from touching your stuff. So that'd be a good tower defense thing. Just pretty much spend all your, since it's duration, you can cast it a good bit of time. So you can pretty much inscribe a whole lot of doors into place to completely be covered in runes. You would think eventually they get the idea not to open stuff without destroying the runes. More than likely, depending on how dumb the enemy is. And there's also a modified version of that in the book, which really comes in handy as well, called Symbol. It's a 7th level version of it, has similar rules to it, but it only takes you a minute to cast it, and the duration's the same. The problem is, what it does is it consumes basically mercury, phosphorus, and a powerful diamond and an opal with a total value of at least 1,000 gold. So it is expensive, but at 7th level spell casting, you should have that stuff just on hand. That shouldn't be a problem for you. And all the effects are so much better and so much more worth it. Now, what you have is, it's also a 60-foot radius that happens as well. So it's a huge explosion. This is one you'd really want to try and be in a place where you think a lot of people will be centered around when it activates. So the options you have is death, which is each character must make a constitution saving throw or take 10d10 necrotic damage. Discord, each target must make a Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the target bickers and argues with other creatures for a minute. During this time, they're incapable of meaningful communication and has disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks. So pretty good if you want to get the drop on someone, especially if you have a rogue in your party. Alright, next is Fear. Each creature must make a wisdom saving throw or be frightened for 1 minute. On the failed save, while frightened, the target drops whatever it's holding, then must move at least 30 foot away from the glyph, if able. That's a good one. Helplessness, they must make a charisma saving throw. On the failed save, the target is overwhelmed with despair for 1 minute. During each time, it can attack or target any creature with harmful ability, spells, or magical effects. Yeah. Insanity, each target must make an intelligence saving throw. On a failed save, the target is driven insane for 1 minute. Insane creature can't take actions, can't understand what other creature says, can't read, and speaks only in gibberish. The DM controls his movement, which is erratic. Pain, each creature must make a Constitution saving throw or be incapacitated of excruciating pain for 1 minute. Another good one for if you have a rogue. Sleep, each target must make a wisdom saving throw and falls unconscious for 10 minutes on a failed save, and a creature that awakens if it takes damage or if someone uses action to slap it awake. Or stunning, each target must make a wisdom saving throw or be stunned for 1 minute. It's pretty brutal, honestly, and it is a 7th level spell and takes a big amount of consumption, but that is something you really want to have on your side. Alright, and next, these are more help you in combat, more like, say, they're not really something that would be in the best in tower defense, but the fact their duration means they could be amazing. Like, an idea I had in mind for this when I was building my cleric was the idea, if I knew I was going to be trapped in a room full of a lot of enemies, what all I could do to make that easier on me. And there's another one called Guardian of Faith, and it lasts for an hour, and it is not concentration as well. And what it does is a large spectral guardian that hovers above you for the duration on an occupied space of your choice. And any hostile creature that moves into space within 10 foot of the guardian for the first time must make a dexterity saving throw or take 20 radiant damage or half as much on that. And the guardian vanishes when it's dealt a total of 60 damage. So yeah, that's pretty solid, honestly. Like, it's a 4th level spell, so 60 damage may not seem like a ton, but it's just a free bit of damage every turn, so that's pretty good, honestly, because at the very minimum, you're doing 60 damage to something, whether it's spread out or not, so that's a pretty good chunk of damage. And if you're preparing for the long haul, it's pretty solid. All right. And next, after that, we got... we're going into some of my favorite weapons in the game. And I'm sure you know what it is if you've been following this channel for a little while now. Which ironically to me is still my most popular video despite all the other videos I made. Because I feel like I've gotten better as I've gone on, but these are still my biggest ones. And that is Spiritual Weapon. Now, this is more kind of falls into Guardian of Faith, where in an enclosed space it'd be really good where you're just fighting it, but its duration for a minute's really good, and it's only cast time 1 bonus action. So this is when you know someone's about to come in a room, pop it up, have your Guardian of Faith up. You're dealing at least a good bit of free damage every turn nearly. And you want to know more about it, I rant about it for about 7 minutes in that first video, and according to my fans, it's my best one. Now, the final spell that falls fully under the just a duration category, the rest of them are concentration, is Hollow. And Hollow is the longest casting one. It takes 24 hours to cast, but it is another one that is duration until dispelled. So that part of it really comes in handy. And the good thing about it is Celestial, Elementals, Fae, and Fiend and Undead cannot enter the area. So that's already good as it is. It's a 5th level spell, and it takes herbs, oils, and incense worth at least 1,000 gold. But like, say you got some undead horde coming at you, they can't do nothing. They can only fling attacks at you from a distance, and the range is 60 foot. So just guarding a small space entirely, you're solid. Like, you're booked good. So that's a good way to hold off like a good horde of enemies. If anything, you know certain kind of enemies coming at you. And More than likely, DM's going to fall back on undead at some point, just being straight with you. We love undead. And yeah, that's a good one to have. And also, you can also add effects to target area, which are more buffs for your allies, like Courage. Affected creatures can't be frightened while in the area. Or Darkness. Darkness fills the area. Normal light as well as magical light created by the spell of a lower level and slot. Can be used to cast the spell. Can illuminate the area. And Daylight. Bright light fills the area. Magical darkness created by spells of a lower level can distinguish this light. And Energy Protection. Affected creatures in the area have resistance to one damage type of your choice, except for bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. So you know, like a chromatic dragon's coming at you. That's really good. Energy Vulnerability. If affected. Oh yeah, it has to. Oh yeah. You can add an extra effect to it, but to have to, when a creature would enter the effect, it can make a charisma saving throw ignoring these effects. So that is a thing, but there's still that wall there that a lot of people aren't going to pick. And more than likely, your base skeleton is going to exceed a charisma saving throw based on your DC at level 5 spellcasting at least. And there's also Energy Vulnerability. They can be vulnerable to one damage type of your choice, except bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. Everlasting Rest. Dead bodies that enter the area can't be turned into undead. Extradimensional Interference. Affected creatures can't move or travel using teleportation or by extradimensional interplanetary means. Fear. Affected creatures are frightened while in the area. Silence. No sound can emanate from within the area, and no sound can reach into it. Okay, if you don't want any spells cast, that's really good. And Tongues. Affected creatures can communicate to any other creature in the area, even if they don't share a common language. That's more specific, but that's still a pretty good one to have. Alright, and now the rest of these are all spells that are concentration, so not really falling into the tower defense category, but I feel like they're good for it, just not really in the duration category. And now to finally cap off my cycle of spells that I feel like are good for clerics in close combat is Spirit Guardians. Now I want to go over a little bit in that first video, and there's a 15-foot radius around centered around you. Well, it's 15 foot going outwards. But anyway, I know math, I promise. When you cast a spell, you designate any number of creatures to be unaffected by it. But other than that, if a creature enters your area for the first time, you must make a wisdom saving throw or take 3d8 radiant or necrotic damage, depending on what alignment you are. And that's just solid damage right there, especially if someone's up close on you. That's the constant good DPS, since that activates when they first enter your space or they start their turn there. That's pretty good if you just want to chase down an enemy and constantly make them fight with that. Right. Next on the list is Grasping Vine, which these next two are limited exclusively to if you are the Nature Domain Cleric, because any cleric can really fall under this, but I feel like these spells really cap it off really well. And Grasping Vine is a bonus action to cast, so that's really handy about it. And you conjure a vine that sprouts in the area. When you cast a spell, you can direct the vine to lash out at a creature within 30 foot of you. That creature must succeed a dexterity saving throw or be pulled 20 foot directly toward the vine. One of my favorite uses I've ever had of this is I had an enemy druid set the vine up over the side of a cliff, and it would just yank people off. So that's one possible use of it, if it really is a tower defense. And then finally, one of the most classic defense spells that really comes handy is Spike Growth. And that one is a concentration spell, but the duration's about 10 minutes. And what it is a 20-foot radius centered around a point within your range becomes difficult terrain for the duration, and each creature that moves within the area, it takes 2d4 piercing damage for each 5 foot it travels. Transformation ground is camouflage to look natural, and they must succeed a perception check against your spell's save DC to recognize the terrain. So you get a whole army marching in, they could get a good bit of damage before they even realize what's happening. So that's another good one to have, like, just depending on the situation. If you're trying to, like, bottleneck them in a hallway, that constant damage is really good. And that's about it. That's all the defensive stuff I can think of. And also, being a nature cleric, you could probably say to your DM, hey, he knows a lot of traps. Can I, like, know how to dig pits, make spike pits, and all this other stuff, and see how it goes. But that's the main idea I had, and thank you guys. I hope you like these build videos, and just let me know if you want more or any other concepts you'd like me to go over, and I'll try and make it. We'll see you guys in the next video.